in the first instance when someone experiences trauma, and you mentioned there's different types of people, but what's going through your mind in terms of supporting them? Is it comforting? Is it just making sure they understand the situation fully? What's going through your mind, and what are you trying to do in the first moments?
Yeah, there. That was somewhat up to them. Insert a couple of stories here. I knocked on the door one night at 2 o'clock in the morning, and a family that had a daughter who was up in Knoxville at the University of Tennessee, and just a really bad rainstorm up there. She hydroplaned across the median on I-40 and was hit right on her door by an 18-wheeler and killed her instantly. And I had to go with a deputy, always had a deputy with me, knock on the door to tell this family what had happened and that their daughter was gone. In one of the early stages of grief is denial. This particular father, I don't know if he had a wife or not, to be honest with you. He was there by himself. And I woke him up 2 o'clock in the morning. He'd been in bed, so I'm sure he was foggy anyway. He started screaming and shouting at me, and he literally physically attacked me.
Wow.
And started swinging at me. And, I was big enough, and then with the deputy, we were able to handle him. But that's one person. I went to another family, and their son had died in Nashville somewhere, and it was in Franklin in a very wealthy subdivision. And I knocked on the door at 5 o'clock in the morning with them, and went in, and I'm like, hey, you got somewhere we can sit down? And we sat down at their kitchen table, and I said, well, I'm sorry to be the one, but I've got some information to share with you and whatever. And I told them that their son had died. I don't remember what the circumstances was. And Josh, both the husband and wife, they turned and they looked at each other, and they looked back at me, and they said, oh, thank goodness. We were afraid you were going to tell us that my husband's mother had died. And they had no emotional response to their son dying whatsoever.
Oh, wow.
And that's probably the shortest amount of time I ever had to spend after delivering a death notification, because they were just fine.
That doesn't sound like they were surprised by that. That maybe there's.
Yeah, I don't know what the family dynamics were there. I don't know if they were alienated from him or it was just unusual. And then one of those, well, two more, just to show you how different people react. Now, of course, we're dealing with extreme trauma here when you are woken up or whatever and told that your loved one is dead. But I knocked on another door, and a very attractive lady came to the door, probably in her 50s, and it was a Saturday morning and was pretty spruced up. And I introduced myself, and she told me, and she said, yeah, I'm just waiting for my husband to come home. Every Saturday morning he goes and does, I won't mention what it was so it doesn't indicate anybody, and then he comes home and we go eat a nice lunch together, and I'm just waiting on him to get home. Well, he wasn't coming home. And so I took her inside, and I sat her down and told her, and she went into shock. And I've never experienced it. She started touching me and would do my face like this, and she's like, you're not real. Again, it was a form of denial, but in total shock that she couldn't believe that I was even real. To her, it was an out of body experience or something. Mm-hmm. And I mean, she touched me and for a long time. And anyway, we got her some friends and family there and worked through that. But and by the way, that's probably been 7-8 years ago, and she and I to this day are friends on Facebook.
Wow, well that's a great testimony of the support that you provided.
Yeah, thanked me numerous times for the way that we handled that day. Another lady, knocked on the door, and we had found her 21-year-old son in the front seat of his car in a subdivision that was under construction and unfinished houses, and he had pulled his car up in there and taken his own life. And I knocked on their door, and it was just seemed like 90% of the stuff I had to do like this was at 1, 2, 3, or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
This was
Yeah.
just during the night. And
Hmm.
knocked on their door and went in and told them. And she went berserk. And she literally started running through the house, grabbing stuff, throwing stuff, breaking stuff, screaming and hollering. And so anyway, I just tell all those stories to say everybody reacts different.
Yeah.
In some it's a denial. The sad thing is for most of those people like that, I'm with them through those first initial hours, and I help them. Once we get past that initial reaction, I try to talk to them. I try to listen to them. And most people, when they get in that situation, they don't know what's next. What happens to the body? What do I do? And I
Yeah.
walk them through that. And of course, one of the first things I try to do is get somebody. I'm not going to leave that house till somebody's there with them, so they can help continue with the trauma that they're experiencing.
Right.
Now, I don't get to see them down on step 2, 3, 4 down through there where
Yes.
they start to heal, where they reach acceptance. There's a bargaining phase. I with these folks in that role I was in, I didn't get to see all that happen.
Hmm.
Now, I have had the privilege of running into some people that I was there with them and delivered the notification. And I went to one of my doctors one time, and so I'm sitting in the room waiting on to check me in, took me back to a room, and I'm sitting there waiting on the doctor to come back. And there was a knock on the door, and a nurse comes in. And when the nurse came in, she froze, her jaw dropped, and she just gasped.
Yeah.
And I thought, I know I'm ugly, but I don't think I'm that ugly. And she said, "You don't remember me, do you?" And I said, "I'm sorry, I do not." And a couple more sentences that described the situation. I said, "Oh, I do remember too." And again, she was so thankful. And she and her family, it was her brother, but the whole family was together at a family all day drinking party when the accident happened. Um, and they're very thankful. So they obviously had worked through that and were on the other end of that and had healed. So, the thing is, dealing with trauma is a process. And so there's several things that are important. There's those stages. And I'm going to tell you, I don't believe those stages come in order.